His eyes were red before the tears even fell. His jaw was tight, but his hands trembled as if he was holding on to something too fragile to keep together. Ethan stood in the middle of our living room, the soft light from the lamp making the wetness in his eyes glisten. I could smell him, his cologne, familiar and warm, but beneath it, there was the faint scent of wine, like he had been trying to drink away a truth he did not want to face. When I stepped closer, he looked at me like he was searching my soul for an answer he already knew. His lips parted, but for a long, aching moment, no words came out. Then his voice, broken and raw, cut through the silence. "You were with him." It was not a question. The air between us grew heavier than any confession I could have made. My skin still carried the warmth of Ryan's touch, and Ethan's eyes, they caught it, as if my body betrayed me before my mouth could. My knees almost buckled when I saw the tear slide down his cheek, but I did not move to wipe it away. I couldn't, because this was the moment I had chosen, and it was killing him right in front of me. Before I go any further, I want to say a big thank you to everyone who has subscribed to this channel. You have no idea how much it means to me. And to all my new and returning viewers who are yet to subscribe, I cannot wait for you to hit that subscribe button, because it is the fuel and energy that keeps this channel going. Please do not forget to engage with this story, and share your thoughts in the comments immediately after watching. Your comments keep these stories alive. My name is Olivia Hart. I am 33 years old, born and raised in Dallas, Texas. I work as a marketing manager for a tech company, and up until a few weeks ago, I thought I was in a committed, loving relationship. Ethan Cole, the man now standing in my living room with Heartbreak written all over his face, has been my boyfriend for 6 years. He is 35, a financial analyst, tall, broad-shouldered, with a calm but commanding presence. Ethan is not the type to cry easily. He is the man who holds himself together in storms, who reassures others that everything will be fine even when it is falling apart. But tonight, all that strength was gone, and it was because of Ryan Walker. Ryan is 31, a personal trainer at the gym I go to. He is charming, funny, and has a way of looking at you that makes you feel like you are the only person in the room. I met him 4 months ago, during one of those restless mornings when I woke up and knew I could not face another day in the same stale routine. Ethan and I had once been everything to each other. We met at a friend's birthday party, and within weeks, we were inseparable. He was steady, patient, the kind of man who made you feel safe. We moved in together after 2 years, bought a house after 4, and somewhere along the line started talking about marriage. But love does not die in an instant. It wears away slowly, in arguments left unresolved, in kisses that become routine instead of passionate, in dinners eaten in silence while the television fills the gap between two people who no longer know what to say. Ethan worked long hours. I understood, his job was demanding, but the late nights became constant, and the weekends that used to be ours turned into him catching up at the office or going out with colleagues. I began to feel invisible. That is when I noticed Ryan. It started with harmless small talk at the gym, him asking how my workout was going, me making a joke about hating cardio. He would smile that disarming smile, and I would feel something shift inside me. He noticed things Ethan no longer did. If I changed my hair, Ryan commented. If I looked tired, he asked if I was okay. One evening, after a particularly bad fight with Ethan about his work schedule, I went to the gym just to get out of the house. Ryan was there, leaning against the reception desk, scrolling through his phone. When he saw me, he lit up like I was the person he had been waiting for all night. That was the first night he offered to train me privately. At first, I convinced myself it was just about fitness, but the sessions became longer. His hands lingered when he adjusted my form, his breath warm against my neck. We started texting, workouts at first, then jokes, then late-night conversations about things I had not told Ethan in years. It was a slow burn that turned into a wildfire. One rainy Thursday, Ethan called to say he was staying overnight at the office for a big project. I told him I was fine, but inside, I was already thinking about Ryan. I drove to his apartment under the guise of needing help with my deadlift form. We never made it near his way. Ryan's kiss was urgent, almost impatient, like he had been starving for weeks, and I was his first taste of food. Clothes were shed quickly, hands exploring, mouths finding every place that had been left untouched for too long. The way he looked at me, like I was temptation and salvation at the same time, made me forget for those hours, that I was betraying someone who loved me. When it was over, I lay there tangled in his sheets, my heart pounding, my mind a blur. I told myself I would never do it again, that it was just a mistake. But mistakes have a way of following you home. When I walked into the house, Ethan was sitting in the living room. The television was off, there was no laptop in front of him, no phone in his hand, just him, staring at the floor like it had done something unforgivable. He looked up at me, and in that instant, I knew he knew. I could feel Ryan's scent on me even though I had showered. I could feel the guilt burning under my skin. "You were with him," he said. His voice cracked on the last word, and before I could respond, the tears came, not loud, not messy, but silent, the kind that hurt more because you know they are not for show. And then he whispered something that made my breath catch in my throat. "Olivia, I have been keeping something from you too." Ethan's voice was low, almost unsteady when he said it. "I have been keeping something from you too." I froze, my breath catching in my chest. My mind was still tangled in the guilt of what I had done, the heat of Ryan's touch still lingering in my body, and now, this. My legs felt weak, so I sat on the arm of the couch, eyes fixed on him. "What do you mean?" I asked, my voice sharper than I intended. Ethan wiped his face with the back of his hand. "I was going to tell you weeks ago, but I could not find the right time. Maybe there is no right time for something like this." I felt my stomach tighten. "For what?" He looked away for a moment, his jaw tight. "There is someone else, not like what you did with him, but someone I have been talking to, someone I met through work." It was like my body forgot how to breathe for a second. The hypocrisy stung before the betrayal even landed. Here I was, trying to measure my guilt, only to find he had been building his own. Her name was Claire. She worked for one of Ethan's clients. They started out exchanging emails about quarterly reports, and then it turned into casual chats. From casual chats, it grew into personal conversation, late-night texts, inside jokes. "I never touched her," Ethan said quickly, almost defensive. "It was not like that, but I thought about it, more than I should have, and the truth is, I do not know what I would have done if the opportunity came." I stared at him, my hands trembling. "So you are telling me you were halfway to cheating before I even let Ryan kiss me, before I let him undress me, before I made the choice to cross a line I swore I never would?" Ethan flinched. "I am telling you because I do not want us to be fake with each other. I do not want lies." The irony of that statement was suffocating. After that night, the air in our home was no longer just heavy with suspicion, it was thick with quiet hostility. We still slept in the same bed, but we stayed on opposite edges, facing away from each other. When we spoke, it was in clipped sentences. We were both guilty, but neither of us wanted to admit who had hurt who more. I should have cut Ryan off immediately. I told myself I would. I even drafted a message telling him it was over. But every time I saw Ethan glance at his phone, and smirk faintly at a notification, I thought about Claire, and then I thought about Ryan, about how his hands never hesitated, about how he made me feel like I was the center of every moment. The guilt I carried should have been enough to keep me away from him. Instead, it pulled me closer. One evening I agreed to meet Ryan for coffee, telling Ethan I was working late. We sat in a corner booth, our knees brushing under the table, the scent of his cologne wrapping around me, like a memory I did not want to let go of. But Ryan was different, that day, distracted, restless. "What is wrong?" I asked. He looked at me, his jaw set. "Ethan came to the gym today." My heart skipped. "What? Why?" He said he wanted to sign up for personal training, but the way he was looking at me, it was like he already knew. "I think he is playing it cool, but he is not stupid." I swallowed hard. "Did you say anything?" Ryan leaned back, smirking faintly. "Of course not, but if he keeps coming around, I might." It was then I realized something I had been ignoring. Ryan liked the danger. He liked knowing he could blow my world apart. The part of him that was charming and attentive was real, but so was the part that wanted control. In the days that followed, Ethan's patterns shifted. He started staying out later, claiming he was with friends, or working. He dressed sharper than usual, wore cologne I had never smelled on him before, and the texts from Claire, I never saw them directly, but I knew. You can tell when someone is emotionally somewhere else. One night I came home from the gym to find him in the kitchen, pouring himself a glass of wine. He looked at me, smiled faintly, and said, "You smell nice." It should have been a harmless comment, but his tone, knowing, deliberate, made me feel like we were no longer a couple, but two opponents circling each other in a ring. It happened on a Friday. Ethan said he was going to a client dinner. I decided to follow him. Not because I wanted to catch him, I told myself it was just curiosity, but deep down, I needed to know if he was meeting Claire. I parked across the street from the restaurant and waited. When he arrived, he was not alone. It was not Claire. It was someone I knew, someone I never would have suspected. And in that moment, the betrayal I felt was so sharp it almost felt like my skin was burning. The woman sitting across from Ethan in that restaurant was not Claire. It was Melissa. Melissa, my closest friend since college, my maid of honor in the wedding I once thought Ethan and I would have, the woman who had listened to me cry about his long work hours, who had encouraged me to stand my ground when I complained about feeling neglected. And she was leaning toward him, laughing in a way that was not friendly. Her hand rested on his forearm. His hand was on her knee under the table. My stomach turned cold. I waited outside until they left, my pulse pounding in my ears. When Ethan saw me standing by his car, the shock in his eyes told me he had not planned for this. Melissa froze, her lips parting, but I did not give her the chance to speak. You, I said to Ethan, my voice trembling, but steady enough to cut, told me about Claire. You made me feel like we could rebuild after what I did, and now this? Ethan ran a hand through his hair. It is not what it looks like. Melissa's eyes darted between us. Olivia, please, do not, I snapped. Do not call me like we are still friends. Ethan stepped closer. We only started talking a couple of weeks ago. It just happened. I laughed, but it sounded broken. You mean while I was trying to decide whether to forgive you for Claire, you were already moving on to the one person you knew would hurt me the most? That night I drove to Ryan's apartment. I was shaking with anger, betrayal and something darker, the need to be wanted by someone who was not lying to my face. When he opened the door, I walked in without waiting for an invitation. I told him everything, about Melissa, about Ethan's betrayal. Ryan listened quietly, his eyes sharp, as if taking mental notes. Then he said, "You know I could end this for you." I frowned. "What do you mean?" He leaned against the wall, crossing his arms. "Ethan has been sniffing around, trying to figure me out. What if I just told him everything, every detail about us? It would be over, clean and final. You would not have to keep pretending." It was not kindness in his tone, it was control, power. He wanted me to need him more than I needed Ethan. 2 days later, Ethan came home early. I was in the kitchen when he walked in with Melissa behind him. "We need to talk," he said. I set down the glass I was holding, the sound of it hitting the counter louder than it should have been. "You brought her here." Melissa's face was pale. "Olivia, I did not mean for this to happen." "Stop," I said sharply. "You do not get to did not mean your way out of sleeping with my boyfriend." Ethan's eyes hardened. "And you do not get to lecture me about betrayal when you have been with Ryan." The air went still. Melissa turned to him confused. "Ryan, yes," Ethan said, his voice rising. "The personal trainer, the one she has been sneaking off to see for months." It hit me then. Ryan had told him, every detail, everything unraveled at once. Melissa stormed out. Ethan stood there, chest heaving, waiting for me to deny it. I did not. Instead I said, "Yes. I was with him, because you stopped seeing me years ago, because I was tired of feeling invisible while you found other women to give your attention to." Ethan's jaw clenched. "So now what? We just destroy each other until there is nothing left." I looked at him for a long moment. "There is nothing left, Ethan." Weeks later, after the dust settled and the silence became permanent, I ran into Ryan at a cafe. He was with another woman, tall, stunning, effortlessly confident. He smiled when he saw me, but it was the kind of smile you give someone you have already forgotten. When she went to the counter, I asked, "Was she before me or after?" He took a slow sip of his coffee. "Both." That was when I realized Ryan had never been about me. He had been about the thrill, the chase, the ownership, and Ethan had been about safety, until he was not. I learned that betrayal is not just about bodies crossing lines, it is about the moment someone stops choosing you. It is about trust evaporating so slowly that you do not notice, until there is nothing left to hold on to. I had been with another man, Ethan had been with another woman, but the truth was, we had both been gone long before any of it happened. Sometimes, love does not die in a fight. Sometimes it dies in the quiet, and all that is left is the noise of the ending.